In this video, we're going to implement the My Bookings page. So basically, we're going to render a nice page containing all the tours that a user has booked. And let's start by adding a new route to our view routes. Okay, so we have me, and so let's after that then create the My Tours. So I'm duplicating this one, My Tours. Then also this route needs to be protected so that only currently logged in users can access this page, of course. And then in our views controller, we're gonna have a controller called getMyTours. My tours like this. Okay, and that's actually it for now. So let's go ahead and create this controller now. Okay. So we have all these gets here, get tour, get login form, get account. So let's put this one here as well. And so now what we need to do here is to find all the tours that the user has booked. So basically first we need to find all the bookings for the currently logged in users, which will then give us a bunch of tour IDs. And then we have to find the tours with those IDs. So basically, find all bookings, and then find tours with the returned IDs. So basically the IDs of the bookings for the user, right? Now, instead, we could also do a virtual populate on the tours. And it would be great if you would implement this on your own, exactly as we have done it before with the tours and the reviews. But here in this function, I actually wanted to show you how we can do it manually, because I think that's also kind of important. And actually, a virtual populate should work something similar to what we're going to do here. And so you see that actually we need two queries in order to really find the tours corresponding to the user's bookings. Okay, anyway, let's now start. So let's create a variable for all the bookings. Oh, wait. And now I think we don't have the bookings here yet. Nope. So bookings here. And booking model. And here, of course, it's just booking. All right. So await booking dot find. And now remember that each booking document has a user ID, right? So here in the schema, remember, we have the tour ID, the user ID, and then all these other data. And so what we're going to do now is to basically query by the user ID, okay? And so that will then return us all the tours that belong to the current user, okay? So not this one. So tour should be equal to request.user.id. Then here async, and as always, catch async as well. So these bookings now contain all the booking documents for the current user, but really that only gives us the tour IDs. And so now we want to find the tours with the returned IDs. And so the next step is to basically create an array of all the IDs, and then after that query for tours that have one of these IDs. All right? And this will make a bit more sense once we actually implement what I just explained. So tour IDs is equal to bookings, and now we're going to use a map to create a new array based on a callback function, which is this one. So the current element .tour.id. So what is this going to do? Well, basically this loops through the entire bookings array, and on each element it will grab the element .tour. And actually we don't even need the ID here, because the tour itself is already the tour ID, right? Then in the end we have a nice array with all the tour IDs in there here, and that's because we used a map. Okay, then having all the tour IDs, we can actually get the tours corresponding to those IDs. So await tour .find. And we actually want to find by ID, but we cannot use the .find by ID because here we actually will need a new operator. And that operator, which I'm not sure if we have used before, is called in. So in tour IDs. So basically what this is going to do is that it will select all the tours which have an ID which is in the tour IDs array. Okay, so that's quite straightforward, but it's very great to know that we can use this very handy in operator here. Okay, and so that's actually one of the reasons why I wanted to do this manually instead of just doing a virtual populate like we did before. But again, it would be nice if you would go ahead and actually implement that also, just for the fun of it, you know. Okay, and with this, we actually have our tours ready to be rendered. So, res.status, as always, and then render them. All right, and actually, we don't even need a new template for this. We're simply going to be reusing the overview. Okay, so we're going to end up with a page that looks very similar to the overview, but only with the tours that the user has booked. So up here into get overview, we then actually passed in all the tours. Okay, so basically all of them. And so now we're going to have something very similar, but of course only passing in the booked tours. So where's that? All right. So the title is going to be my tours, and again passing in the tours variable. Okay, and that should be it. Now of course we could also have created a whole new card for these booked tours with some more relevant information about each of the bookings, but in this case that's not really important. Alright, so we're actually ready to test this because we already implemented the route here before, and so that's my tours. Oh, but actually let's set this link here right on the user account page. So this my tours should of course have its own link right here in the account. So on that left column. So that's right here in my bookings. So we have this first one here which is for the link, remember, and so right now basically all of them point nowhere, but now for the bookings we actually have a link. And so that is my tours. And we could have called it bookings as well, but that's not really important anyway. So now we're ready to test this. Let's actually log out of this user and then log in as our other user, Laura. All right. And so let's see what we get here. And that's taking way too long. So let's take a look at our code and at our terminal here. Okay. So there's no error here, but also it looks like nothing is really happening here. So the my tours route here doesn't even show up. All right. Now in order to find this bug, I actually had to do some debugging outside of this video because it was really a hard one to find. Okay. First, there's a small error here. So this here should actually be user and not be tour. So I explained it correctly back then, where I said that we need to filter by the user. So tours where the user is equal to the user coming from the request, but then for some reason I did it wrong here. Okay, but that's not the main bug actually. So not the one preventing the page from actually loading. The error that causes that to happen is right here actually in the booking model. And it's down here in this prefind middleware. And the problem is that we do never call the next middleware here. Alright, so again, this is a pre-middleware, and all of the pre-middlewares have access to the next function, and so at the end of these middlewares, we always have to call next. Otherwise, our process really gets stuck. Alright, so give that a save, can actually close this one, and so now let's try that again. And now indeed we have my tours, But it is empty since this user never really did a booking. So let's try that out now. And let's book the forest hiker. So that should still be working. And indeed it does. Very nice. We have the email address pre-formatted. And now, as always, 4242. So we did a booking before, actually with this user, but before we implemented the booking model. And so therefore we never really created a booking in our system. All right, so payment accepted. And now let's see. And here we go. Great. So that logic that we just implemented actually worked. And so really the only problem was that next missing in the middleware. And just like that, we completed yet another page of our dynamic website. And so next up, all there's really left to do at this point is to finish the bookings API.